Hello, this is the negative rebuttal to the affirmative constructive. So I wanted to relay out the affirmative's plan, which was to create drones and send them to mine the moon to get HE3. First, I just wanted to start off that they never elaborated, my opponent never elaborated on the drones too much, and there was a lot of talk about drones, but funding for these drones, which was one of the main points that I brought up, was just kind of dropped. He focused a lot on the outcome of what we would get from the HE3 from going to the moon, but failed to focus on the drones themselves and the funding that we would need and the energy and fuel that they would need. So not just the rockets, but also the drones that are going to be mining on the moon. So he first states a counter to my logical fallacy of hasty generalization, saying that he was clarifying that it was just a sample from Russia or an example, but this still does not solve anything because he did not say anything about the disadvantage that we can't even get this sample, or that if we even tried to contact Russia saying, hey, we want a sample, so we're basically telling Russia that we're interested in this as well, that they might not give us that sample. That might actually cause them to get mad at us. So there's no solving that, there was no countering that logical fallacy. It was a hasty generalization. You cannot say that Russia's going to give us a sample, because most likely they will not give us a sample because that's their property and it's something that they want to explore on, and they're not there to give us that sample. So there was no countering that. There was still no solving that issue. Next, what I stated was that it would cause Russia to go to war with the US because we're already on the verge with them, and this could just set them off. And my opponent's answer was the probability is very slim. Probability is very slim of going to war. But you're agreeing with me in saying that there's still a probability, because that was my answer, was that there's still probability of going to war, and you're saying there's probability is very slim, so there's still a chance of going to war. So why are we going to still get a sample from Russia if there's a probability of going to war? This makes no sense. And then you furthered that by saying a space race won't cause war. A space race. So we're now in a race with another country to go to space. Don't you think that a race with another country is considered a conflict, or considered a war, or a start to a war? What? So now we are creating a race between countries, and this won't cause war? How does that make sense? How does that even equivalent to each other? So there's no reasoning in what you're saying with that. There's a lot of disagreement. So, and then you brought up my disadvantage of a weak economy and that the technology won't be ready. Well, I was clarifying that it won't be available to us. We are so much in debt, we can hardly pay for welfare of individuals and Medicare and medical and health, and how are we going to just fund this stuff? And your answer was never answered about how this will be a waste of time, money, and we might get nothing out of it, and we could be funding for the better for our citizens right now, because they're struggling, where we're just going to try to get these HE3s when we already have the available necessities on Earth that we need for energy. So you didn't really say anything about what I said. You just said that the technology is still there, but you never answered about how it may be a waste of time, because it might outweigh the fact, going to the moon might outweigh the fact that we're still struggling here on Earth, might cause society to get mad. And then you brought up my second disadvantage of more fuel will be burned by going to the moon. And you said that it was a necessity to use fuel to go to the moon. We needed to use that fuel, but you never answered about any ways to lower the cost of fuel or lower the amount of fuel that we're using. You never answered to that problem. You just said that, oh well, there's a necessity for fuel, that we need to go to the moon. So my opponent agreed with me on that more fuel will be burned by going to the moon, and that is a problem in itself, that is harm, and he agreed with me on that. So I guess he's gonna be voting negative. And also, there was still nothing answered on how we know there is an abundance on the moon, because we still don't know that. We just have this so-called sample from Russia, and there's just no solvency in anything here. And thank you, I've stated my case, and you will hopefully be voting negative today because of my reasoning outweighing his reasoning and his agreements with my reasoning. Thank you.